Indian No More, Chapter 17, Trick or Treat. I still don't like the girls trick-or-treating, Mama said to Daddy over dinner. Why on earth would people start a custom of teaching their children to knock on people's doors and beg? We never trick-or-treated on the res. Nobody even mentioned it. In any case, Mama wasn't convinced to let us go with our neighbor friends that night. So I said something completely against my beliefs. But Daddy, you said moving here makes us Americans now, and American kids trick-or-treat. There. I did it. I bargained my Indianness for free candy. That's true. Go enjoy, Daddy winked at us as he headed off to catch the bus for night class. Shortly after that, Miss Elsie, dressed in tan plaid slacks and a matching brown knitted sweater, came to the door with Keith and Addie. She told Mama she would walk all of us kids around our block since Mr. Bates was homesick. Addie looked pretty in her princess costume. Anthony was dressed up as a pirate, complete with an eye patch and plastic sword. And Philip was transformed into Count Dracula, startling poor Pee-wee when we stopped by the Hernandez house to get them before we set out. Keith still had on his same Lone Ranger costume, and Pee-wee and I were still dressed as Raggedy Ann dolls. With a half moon overhead, a warm breeze at our backs, and pillowcases in hand, our group headed across 58th Place in search of candy. The overhead street lamps lit the sidewalk and road. Porch lights welcomed us to houses that had sweet loot. Freshly made chocolate chip cookies and gifts of big chocolate bars fell into our bags. Large popcorn balls and wax paper plopped inside our pillowcases. What a haul! After leaving the last house on the block, I suggested we go over to the next block to get more candy. Everyone agreed and begged Miss Elsie to visit a few more houses. All right, but just one more block, and then I take you all home. We started down the next street, checking one another's pillowcases and sharing what we had. So far, Halloween was the best holiday yet. From out of nowhere, eggs flew above our heads. At first, I stood dumbfounded, not understanding what was happening. Philip and Anthony ducked behind a palm tree. I saw Miss Elsie shield Addie with her body, so I jumped in front of Pee-wee, spreading my arms out. Eggs splattered everywhere. One missed me, barely. 2 eggs busted open on the bottom of Miss Elsie's slacks. White yolk dripped off Keith's cowboy hat. No one had noticed the blue station wagon, full of 4 white teenage boys. Having fun now? The boys yelled. They laughed and shouted more words I'd never heard, words I knew meant they hated us. When the car roared to life and sped away, tires squealing, red taillights faded down the street. Silence hovered in the air. I trembled, my eyes filled. Addie looked at Miss Elsie and bawled. Keith stood stunned. The Hernandez brothers came out slowly from behind the palm trees. Then Pee-wee choked out between sobs, I want my mama. We're all going home, baby, Miss Elsie whispered as she knelt to wipe the dripping egg from her slacks onto the grass. She rose up and touched Pee-wee's cheek with her shaky hand. Let's all get moving quick, okay? With a clenched jaw, she scanned the street and shepherded us back toward our own block on 58th Place. I held Pee-wee's hand tight. We moved fast. When we arrived at Anthony's and Philip's house, Miss Elsie informed Miss Hernandez about the egging. Miss Hernandez covered her mouth and said something in Spanish that caused the brothers' eyes to widen and look at each other. She patted Miss Elsie's shoulder and then hurried the boys inside. Then we got to our house. Mama sat smoking a cigarette in her rocker on the porch. I glanced down fast. I didn't want her to know I was scared, but Pee-wee rushed up and sobbed right into her lap. I'm so sorry, Kate. Something awful happened. Miss Elsie began and told her all about how the white boys in the station wagon threw eggs and said awful words. First, Mama asked Miss Elsie if she was all right. Miss Elsie responded that she was ready to get herself, Keith, and Addie home. Next, Mama thanked her for taking us trick-or-treating and bringing us home. But as soon as she closed the door and knew Miss Elsie was across the street, the screaming began, most in Portuguese and some in English. Mama waved her hands with her cigarette circling like a glowing sparkler. Then Daddy walked in the door from class. Mama gave him an earful. It's all right, Kate, Daddy said, putting down his things. You girls didn't get hurt, did you? We stayed quiet, but shook our heads no. Why don't you two show me what you got? Chich said, touching our cheeks to calm our fears. She went into our room and returned with some fabric for us to sort out all the goodies inside our pillowcases on the floor. We did as we were told, showing Chich each kind of treat we had. Chocolate was put in one stack, bubble gum in another, baked treats, and so on. We kept our heads down, though not daring to look up at Mama. She relayed to Daddy everything Miss Elsie shared about the incident. Maybe we should think about moving to another area, Daddy said. You know, living here makes us have problems. Daddy stayed quiet and glanced at us girls as he swiped a chocolate bar from my pile. I wanted to protest, but thought better of it. Tears filled my eyes again. They said very bad words, filthy names. Mama and Daddy headed into their bedroom. What I did know was that I had caused this. If I hadn't asked if we could go trick-or-treating for another block in the first place, nobody would have been egged. I would have never heard those words, and Mama and Daddy wouldn't be fighting in the bedroom now about moving. It's time for bed, girls, Chich said, helping us move our stash of goodies into the kitchen. She then removed our yarn wigs and took a wet cloth to our faces to remove our makeup. Then she sent us off to have a bath. After we had washed away any physical reminders of the day, Chich took time with each of us, drying and combing our hair. I felt better, but sleep did not come easy. My mind kept seeing egg yolk hanging off Keith's hat, along with Addie and Pee-wee crying their eyes out. I didn't understand everything that happened, but I knew two things. I would apologize to Keith and his family the next day, and this was the first and last time we'd ever celebrate Halloween.